Episode 5 of Sweet Home Season 2 begins with Eun-yu trying to save the mystery girl from Dong Ji-ai. Annoyed that she had to kill the harmless monsters to rescue Eun-yu, mystery girl walks off with Dong Ji-ai. The landmine alerts all monsters, and everyone hides as Tak and his men defend the stadium. But the expedition squad lures the monsters to a gas station and blows it up with the last of the C4. Mrs. O is quarantined and keeps asking for her son. Tak lets Chan-young off easily, but Kim shows up and beats the younger man for putting them all at risk. Tak tries to stop Kim, who blames him for the death of half their men. The expedition squad finds and brings a stunned Jun-il, and while Seo-jin keeps asking about Choi, Peter shows up at the clinic to trade with Lim, who has turned into an alcoholic. He takes antibiotics for Gina while Chan-young shows up with Jun-il. An apathetic Lim suddenly shows interest on seeing Jun-il's scar. While heading out, Chan-young asks if some monsters choose who to attack, and Lim tells him to bring him such a monster if he sees one. Outside, Yi-sol cries over Chan-young, but he is confused by her affection. As Eun-yu struggles to find her way back, the hitchhiker, Ho-sang, and a girl, Ha-and-I watch her. Meanwhile, Ji tells Tak to get rid of Mrs. O as she will so panic. He refuses, and she tells him to take responsibility for the consequences. It is then seen that he is injured by shrapnel during the explosion. Peter gives Gina the medicine, but she sneaks off when the rest show up for mass. Yi-sol learns that Seon-hwa has a crush on Peter and drags her to mass too. Seon-hwa suddenly confesses her feelings for him, which weirds out everyone, and they leave. Jin-ok asks Peter to visit Mrs. O, and he says it is an expensive favor but meets the infectee anyway. Elsewhere, Tak refuses Kim's request to find Choi and is called a coward. In the barracks, Seo-jin picks a fight with those who call Choi a deserter. Gina hears and drops the antibiotic Peter gave her. Lim tests Jun-il's blood and finds him missing as he searches for his mother. The other kids bully Yang-soo. He starts hitting them, but Eun-yu arrives and stops him. He says he is done being good and even tells Jun-il that his mother has become a monster. The guards find and beat Jun-il, but Lim shows up and stops them. He promises to help Jun-il if he tells him about the scar, but the young man gets confused while talking about Mystery Girl. Outside, Ji makes a deal with Mrs. O, who has started to heal but slowly. Suk-chan tells Kim about Choi seeing Gina and wanting to find medicine for her. But at that moment, she hangs herself. Eun-yu saves her and says it is so people don't think she murdered her. Ji then approaches Eun-yu, who says she didn't kill her husband. But Ji doesn't care as she wants to blame someone. Chan-young and Peter overhear. Peter hints to Chan-young that Eun-yu killed Dong Ji-ai and Sang-jin and turned Jun-il. Chan-young follows her and sees her feeding a kitten at an exit and a red ribbon around her hand. He asks if she is searching for the monster that killed Ji's husband, but not her. Meanwhile, Lim learns that Jun-il's blood is that of an MH, but he has no symptoms and doesn't heal. Lim then decides to provoke him to unleash the monster in him. At the exit, Mystery Girl shows up and says if Eun-yu wants to find her brother, she should take her hand. Before Eun-yu can, Chan-young stops her as someone points a gun at them. It is Ik-young with one eye injured, a red ribbon, and declaring that she wants the Mystery Girl at the end of Sweet Home Season 2 Episode 5. The episode review. The conflict between Ji and Eun-yu is finally revealed in Sweet Home Season 2 Episode 5. But it is still not fully clear as to what's the problem if Ji knows the truth. Why would she blame Eun-yu then? Also, Peter is extremely shady. He keeps sowing seeds of doubt here and there, though he does help Mrs. O by talking to her. He possibly has something going on with Gina as well, but she doesn't have much going on for her, so the writers better give her more of a personality. About time we got to see Ik-young. Wonder what happened to her and how she has the same ribbon as Eun-yu. And if the Mystery Girl is her kid, how did she grow up so quickly? Also, despite being the main protagonist and antagonist, Hyun-soo and Ui Myung are missing for an awfully long time. The human survivors are definitely entertaining with their drama and pettiness, but more and more Season 1 favorites are disappearing. Hopefully, we see more of Jisoo and Eun-hyuk as well in the future. It is very likely that the monster that killed Ji's husband is Eun-hyuk.